I sucked at objection handling. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know where to take the conversation. And after getting so sick of losing out on thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars every single month, we mapped out the objection handling decision tree. A flowchart logic which shows you how to overcome pretty much every single objection a prospect could give you on a sales call. I've used this to become top closer on the sales teams I've been on, while prospects were thanking me for handling their objection and giving me money. And other people have used this to close more deals as well. So watch this and go use it on your next call. All right, so this is the objection handling portion of the decision tree. Now, obviously, there's the discovery part of the sales call. We don't have time to go over this on this video right now. There's a whole nother topic. If you fuck up the discovery, if you have a weak discovery, your objection handling just not going to land that well. But for the purpose of this video, let's go over this. All right, so you should have dropped the price. All right, it's this much. Where do you want to go from here? And at that point, they say, all right, let's do it, which is a happy sound for all of us sales guys, or they give an objection. All right. So here's the logic on how to go over that. So when they give you an objection, first, there's different ways to go about it. How I like to do it is just going over logistical money first. Okay. So we're going to say something like, yeah, it's not a problem. Money aside, do you feel like this could help you get to where I want you to go? And the reason why we handle the money first is because I've seen a lot of people handle fear first, meaning that, okay, but hey, man, like, shouldn't you have the right mindset? Like, are you afraid? They try to go into the fear objection handling first. All right. Now, that's all fine and dandy. That's one way of doing it. I just found that it's just easier to go through logistical money first. Okay. So we handle the money objection first. We loop back to the sale. If they give us another objection, if they give us a time objection, like, hey, I don't have the time or the timing's not right, we handle that. Or if they give a partner objection, we handle the partner. And then after that, we go into the fear in that particular order. And we're going to explain why in just a moment here. But let's go through one by bit. All right. So logistical money first, and they're going to say, if you've done the discovery and the pitch correctly, and they're going to say, well, do you feel like this could help you get to where I want to go? They say yes. If they seem hesitant, it means that you either fucked up something on the pitch or the discovery. After that, you go, well, why is that? Besides whatever they mentioned before. So let's say you sell coaching, and they mentioned that the accountability is good in the pitch, right? Well, why is that besides the accountability? And they're going to say yada, yada, yada. I like to put besides because you could just say, oh, why is that? But I found that, well, some people say like, well, like I said, because I like the accountability, right? So it's not the worst thing in the world. The whole point of asking why they feel like this could help them get to where they want to go is because now what we're doing is, number one, isolating the real objection. Now, what are objections? Objections are simply concerns, okay? So it's not this evil thing. We need to go crazy. It's like, oh, prospects' mindsets are bad. Yeah, maybe not, right? So it could be a genuine logistical reason. When I say logistical, meaning that they want to do it, but there's a genuine reason blocking them from actually moving forward, right? So when you say money aside, so now we're establishing value, right? So, money aside, yeah, I feel like it could. And then they explain why. They're not telling you, they're telling themselves why money aside, the solution could help them get to their desired outcome, their goal, right? So at that point, oh yeah, because da. So now the value is there, okay? So the value is not an issue anymore. Now, objection handling isn't really about opening more doors. Objection handling is about closing all the other doors. That way, they only have one way to exit, which is the sale. Okay? Because now we established the value, so now that's not a concern anymore. Does that make sense? So after that, we handle the money. Okay, so is it more so the upfront amounts, or if it could help you break this up into more digestible chunks, would that make it easier for you? And they say, yeah, that would be great. Or they'll say, oh, it just depends on the options. If they're giving a male response, you simply go, well, would you like me to walk you through the different options? And they'll say, sure. The reason why is because we want to get buy-in. We want to have them ask us, right? After that, we go into the different payment plans. We're going to offer different payment plan options. Now, I've seen people, again, go into fear objection first. That's one way of doing it. I just prefer to get the money out of the way because on previous offers I've been on, I've seen closers where they get an objection from a prospect, and what they'll do is they'll go immediately into fear, and they'll do 1.5 hours of fear reframe, pulling out ninja jiu-jitsu stuff from their back pocket. Now, that's all fine and dandy, and there's one incident where the prospect just wouldn't budge. So the closer went, oh, well, it's fine, man. I mean, we do have financing options. Would that help? And the prospect was like, well, you should have told me that hour and a half ago. I would have just done that. And the closer's like, oh, okay, well, you can apply here. And then the prospect applies for financing. They get approved. And then they buy. So in hindsight, if the closer would have offered the financing hour and a half ago, that could have got the deal done and dusted there, right? Instead of having to risk losing the sale because you have to run to the next call or whatever, right? Another instance too, I have instances where after the pitch, I've gotten a competitor objection. And so what it is, yeah, not a problem, man. Competitor and money aside, do you feel like this could help you get to where I want to go? And I give them a 2-pay payment plan option. They say no. Okay, what about a 3-pay? And then they're like, you know what? I could do that. And then the prospect just moved forward. I got the sale. But if I just handle the competitor, then we never know if I would have ever gotten that sale because it would have taken me way longer. And now I could have just lost that sale. Right? So we just like to go this way. First, we never want to assume that the objection is fear, meaning that the prospect is because they're afraid of moving forward. Because when you do that and you just try to hammer them with like a mindset reframes, now the prospect, if it was a genuine reason, they could get pissed off and you lose that sale, or it just takes you longer, right? If it is fear, we're gonna get to that later, but it's just better to do it this way. Make sense? So let's go back to that again. Now, what you do is, again, and another mistake I see people too is they pitch the price and then they immediately go into like different payment plan options. Oh, you could do 6K, or you could do like 10K, or you could do like 2 payments of 5K, so on and so forth. Just better to give them one option in my experience. Just give them one payment plan option, right? Here's the paid in full price. If they can't do it, you drop it down to the next highest payment plan, which will be the 2-pay. So we say this. All right. So what we can typically do is we can break it up into half and half, equal amounts, 30 days apart. Would that help you out? And at that point, they're going to say yes, or I still can't do that. If they say yes, you simply loop back to the sale. All right, cool. So knowing that the money works and you feel like this could help you get to where I want to go, where do you want to go from here? You see what we're doing? So knowing that money works, so that money door is closed. So they can't exit that door anymore, right? And then you feel like this could help you get to where I wanted to go, which is the value door, right? So the value door is shut. So now they have to go to the sale, right? Logically speaking. And if it is logistical, then you'll move forward into the sale. Now, if they give you another objection, then we got to handle that. Okay. Now, typically at this point, we're going more to fear territory, which we'll get into in a minute. All right. Now, and also, common question: how do you know if an objection is genuine or a smokescreen? Meaning that it's a genuine objection, or maybe they're lying, or maybe they're just not telling the real truth. Typically speaking, when they give you more than one objection to start, typically speaking, is fear objection. Okay. Because I learned this from a guy named Marco Cortese when I was at 7th level. And what he told me was that, oh, there's something called Pinocchio effect. What that means is in psychology, if a prospect is in fear, or if a person is in fear in general, now they start to spit out different concerns all at once because now their brain's not logically thinking straight because they have this fear come into place, right? They're emotional. So at that point, they give you, oh, the money's a lot, so I need to talk to my partner. I'll just get back to you. So there's 3 objections all at once, right? But if it's a genuine concern, they only come to you with one concern. Hey, man, I really want to do this, but I just don't have the money right now. And that's it. Okay. And if it no longer logically starts to make sense, then typically we're going to go into fear. Okay. So now let's say they still can't do that. Then we drop it into the 3-pay, right? Okay. I would typically dump, but what we could do is 3 payments of X amount, 30 days apart. Would that be easier? And they'll either say, yes, that works, or I still can't do that. If they say, yes, that does work, again, we loop back to the sale, right? Okay, so knowing that the money works and you feel like this could help you get to where you want to go, where's it to go from here? Okay, so again, you handle that concern and you loop back to the sale. How you loop back to the sale, there's different ways that you can go about it. You can go, how would you like to proceed? Where would you like to go from here? What should we do from here? So on and so forth. It doesn't have to be those exact words, but something along those lines. All right, and then you go into the sale, right? Now, if they can do the money, but they still have a concern, then we go into that exact concern, right? Now, let's say they still can't do the money, right? The 3 payment plan. They just resort back to like one at a time to your lowest payment plan, okay? And obviously, you want to collect as much cash up front because number one, you get paid more. Number two, the business gets paid more, so they can run more ads, better ads, give you better leads. And also for the client's perspective, the more cash they put down, the more committed they are, the better results they're going to be, which is better for the business, and also more chances of them giving referrals, and they could upsell into the higher tier program, which is increasing the LTV, the lifetime value of the client, which is a flywheel effect, right? So let's say you exhaust all the payment plan options, they still can't do that. After that, what we're going to do is see what options we can do here to work out with this person. Okay. Whether it be financing or what other ways this person will get the money. Okay. Just because the person doesn't have the money, do not give up on this person right away. It's a common mistake I see closers make. If you give up right away, you're just throwing the towel too soon. And a lot of closers just complain like, oh man, the leads are broke, whatever. I did everything I could. Is it really? So princess closers will just bitch and complain that the leads are broke, but sharks go help leads find the money and turn the no sale into a sale. Okay. So we're going to go into that right now. So we first go into the cash in hand. Okay. All right. So after you cover the basic expenses like rent and food, I mean, how much cash in hand are you working with at the moment to see if I can help? All right. So you go into that. If it's more like a B2B business owners, then you can be like, after your basic living and business expenses, how much cash in hand are you working with? And after that, you'll get one or two different answers. You'll get a vague response, like not a lot, but they don't tell the exact amount, or they may tell you the exact amount, which is I'm working with 1K right now, 2K right now, whatever. Now, if they give you a vague response, like not a lot, you simply clarify. Okay. Oh, no worries. Or on how much you just say to see if it can help you. No judgment. Because some people say that because they don't want to feel judged. They're a little bit embarrassed. So we're creating a safe space for them, no judgment. And then they open up. Okay. At this point, we'll have one or two different scenarios. Number one is if you have funding or financing in your offer, meaning that's maybe different, no money down, pay later options or broken into smaller chunks, right? Financing, or if you don't have financing or they don't qualify for it. Okay. So depending on that, we can go through different options. Okay. So let's say you have funding. So here's what you do. Okay. So we do have different funding partners that might be willing to loan you the funds. And there's different options for that. It could be broken to 6 months interest free. It could be 9, 12. Really depends on your credit. But what a lot of people do is they get into the program that way. And as they get more profits using the strategy we coach them on, they have the funding that way and avoiding most of the interest, if not all of the interest. Would that help you? So let's break down what we did because there's the different things that are happening here. Okay. So there's different options we can do that. You just walk them through. You don't need to get into the whole nitty gritty. We're just letting them know that, hey, there's different ways of breaking the smaller chunks. Essentially what we're doing here. So a lot of people do is they do this. Now, I learned this from Jeremy Amano, which is called a herd mentality, herd theory, which is people want to do what other people are doing. Okay. So this is, imagine you go to the restaurant, right? You may have instances where you ask the waiter, it's a new restaurant. You go, hey, what's the best seller here? Hey, what do people typically get here? Now, the reason why we ask that is because we don't want to go into the unknown. This is how human beings are wired, right? When we're living in caveman times, we don't want to go into the jungle not knowing if a saber-toothed lion is going to pop out of nowhere, right? So that's why we want to do what other people are doing. That's just how people are. So we plugged in, and what a lot of people do is this, and then they pay off the funding that way. Would that help you? And at that point, they're going to say, yes, that would help. Or they may say something like, well, I don't want to get into debts. That objection, which we're going to get into later. All right. So if they say, yeah, that would help. All right, cool. What's your credit score to see if it might be eligible? Okay. Now, we give a reason why we ask that. We don't want to do this for every question. We're justifying every single reason why we're asking a question because that just seems very salesy, it's too repetitive. You don't have to. But for questions that may seem more invasive, then we justify a reason why. Okay. And for credit scores, people can be a bit more sensitive about it, which is why I give a reason why. To see if it might be eligible. And obviously, to see if they would be eligible, we need to know. And at that point, typically, I mean, this can depend later how the economy crashes, so on and so forth. At the time we're speaking right now, good credit, typically if they're 650 credit score or higher, they have a pretty good chance of getting approved for financing. That doesn't mean they will, all right? And if they're below 600, typically tougher chance. Now, again, depending on the funding options that you have, because they are funding options where if the credit score is lower, they still might get approved for that. So you got to do your own homework on that. All right. Now, let's say they have good credits for whatever you offer. So what you do is, okay, I mean, that's not bad. So what we can do from here is I can send you the link and you can apply for funding from your end. Want to do that? Okay. Now, we don't want to get all excited. Oh, you'll definitely get applied for that. Right. So even if they have 700, 800 credit score, what you don't want is, oh, you're going to get approved. You don't want to do that because they could still get denied. And when you set the expectation high and then they get denied, what happens? Well, whenever you set expectation high, you get disappointed more, right? So when they get disappointed more, they don't want to keep trying, finding ways to get the money to get into the program. So which is why we stay neutral here. It's not bad. At that point, they're going to say yes. All right. Or they're going to say, I don't want to get into debt, which in that case, we go into that objection. All right. Now, if they say, yes, I do want to do that. And then what you do is, all right, cool. You send in the link over email, text, whatever. And you go, all right, I just sent you the link. Did that come through? And you stay on the call. Do not leave the call. So they're going to say, yeah, that came through. If they say, I don't see it, well, have you checked spam or promotions? And they're going to say, okay, I see it now. And then what we do is we do a preemptive strike. I learned this from dating coaches. Okay. What you do is, all right, and no need to get heartbroken if that doesn't get approved. That totally happens. In that case, I'm still here to help you explore different options as well. Okay. So what is a preemptive strike? You're essentially saying the concern before it pops up or they say it. Okay. So, because what's the concern that could happen? Well, the concern is like, well, if they get denied, now they're going to feel like shit, right? So you let them know before, right? So, yeah, no one's get heartbroken. It totally happens. So you're setting the expectation almost lower neutral, right? You're letting them know. So when they do get denied, or if they get denied, it's like, oh, like this guy told me I'd get denied. So it mitigates the feeling of shitness, so to say. Okay. So you do that. And there's a concept I learned from dating coaches. I've had friends that are dating coaches, and what they typically do is, hey, I know you see me as a player, but, and you just say whatever the thing, right? So, which is what concerns girls might have, right? Oh, this guy's a player. Hey, I know I may come off as a player, but you know what? I'm just looking for a girl to settle down with, right? And so if you also look at the movie Eminem, the movie 8 Mile, Eminem is in that. Essentially, they do a rap battle, right? And the first rap battle that Eminem does in the competition, he gets smoked. He gets destroyed because the other guy just points out all the different flaws. Hey, man, you're white. What do you know about hip hop? So the second time, what Eminem does when he goes into the rap battles, like he points out all the flaws that he has that the other guy could say. So he says something like, yes, I am white. I do live in a trailer park with my mom. So what? And then now the other guy has nothing to say. So whenever you have something like this in a sales conversation, is a principle you can use. All right. After that, so they're going to apply for the financing. And if they get approved, you get them through the sale, obviously. Right. Now let's go through a scenario where if they don't have good credits, what do we do? Do we give up? Do we hop on the phone? Is like, hey, feel free to reach out? No bueno. That's us hoping that somehow they'll reach out, right? And what are the chances of them actually reaching out? Pretty much none, right? We're leaving up for chance. We do not want to leave things up for chance. That's being a leaf in the wind. No bueno. So let's say their credit score is bad, right? So what you do is, okay, that's a little bit low than the usual eligibility. So what people do at this point is if you have friends or family, apply for the funding under your name, under their name, and pay them back. So who do you know that might be willing to help you out so that you can get outcome? Who do you know that might be willing to help you out so that you can actually retire your parents? So you don't have to keep being in the stress of being in the revenue roller coaster. Just insert for whatever. Okay. So we're getting resourceful. So at that point, they're going to say, my father, my sister, whatever. So at that point, you go, okay, why would your father be willing to help you out? Why would your sister be willing to help you out? The reason why we ask this is because now we're getting them solidified. Like, yeah, they will be able to help you out. So now they want to go do that thing more, which is calling their parents and actually asking for a favor, which no one wants to do. But now it gets them closer in that direction. Make sense? And they'll say something, yeah, because he wants me to see me win. All right. So what do you feel like you'd say to him? At that point, it's like they'll say something, yeah, I want to buy this course, da da da. Okay, it's not bad. I mean, can I make a suggestion? Because if they say, hi, I saw these guys from the internet, then their father or whoever, they're going to be a bit skeptical, right? So you say something like this. Yeah, what if you talk to them about some of the challenges you've been having, like, being stressed out, being paycheck to paycheck for the last 6 months, and how the extra money would really help invest in your own skills or your business. And at this point, you'll work hard, set some money aside, you actually pay him back that way. Would that help him possibly? They're like, yeah, sure. So in an ideal scenario, you get them both on the phone together, right? So you have them join the Zoom call or have them put their father or whoever put on the speakerphone and you talk to them together. That's the best case scenario. If you cannot do that, you at least coach them on how to talk to whoever they're going to borrow money from. At that point, is you're around the house right now. So you want to bring the logistics to now. Okay. You want to bring the logistics live. So if they're around the house, bring them to the call or have them call them right then and there. Okay. Because if you just hop off the phone, the chances of you closing that deal, it just goes down dramatically. Doesn't mean impossible. No, but we would rather just mitigate the risk as much as possible. Right. So at that point, yeah. All right, let's bring it right here. If they say no, all right, let's call them right now. Okay. And if they don't answer, when's the next time you can talk to them? And then you set a time bridge. Okay. It's another concept I learned from the dating world, time bridge. Okay. Meaning that let's say you go up and talk to the girl. Okay. And what I learned, and these dating coaches know way more than I do. But if you go talk to the girl, it's like, oh yeah, let's have sushi sometime, or let's hang out sometime. Then I mean, if you have things working in your favor, such as maybe the girl likes how you look, or the girl likes other things about you, then yeah, maybe she'll show up to the date. But if you actually set the what, when, and why, all those things as an example, okay, what are we gonna do together? We're gonna have sushi. Okay, where? At Nobu. Okay, when? Saturday, 8 p.m. How are we gonna get there? Well, I'll call you an Uber. Why are we doing this? Because, well, both of us like sushi. So when you set those things, then now the show rate of the girl showing up to the date can actually increase. This is what I learned from them, right? The same thing here is you want to set the, okay, what are you going to do to get the money together? So on and so forth, okay? So after that, let's go into the scenario where, well, I don't want to go into debts. You ever get that? So let's say into the financing, I don't want to get into debts. Then you simply go, well, nobody does, but you must have said that for a reason. And at that point, they're going to tell you a concern. So whenever something's not clear, like a concern behind the concern, meaning that what's behind the concern, you want to clarify. You never want to assume. Because at this point, they're going to say, yeah, I just want to owe anybody money or something happened in the past. Right. Can I offer perspective on that? They're like, yeah, sure. Well, when we look at some of the most successful millionaires, like some of the most successful people in the world, they talk about the difference between bad debt and good debts. Do you know the difference? They're like, well, no. Or they say, yes, whatever. So bad debt is what we all know. Going to the mall, buying a bunch of Gucci shoes, TV, putting it on a credit card, or even going to debt for tens of thousands of dollars for college just to come out with a piece of paper that doesn't mean anything. But how many of those things help you make the money that you really want to make? And then you say, well, none of them. I don't even use my college degree. Right. So that would be considered bad debt. Now, on the other hand, imagine if someone invested into their own skills or business to potentially be able to make 100 grand a year, 200 grand a year, just insert whatever they say they wanted and spend more time with their children. I mean, would that be so harmful to them? And they're going to say, well, no. And why is that? Well, because it would benefit them. Right. Because at the current rate you're saving up from your job or your business, I mean, how long would it take you to put together however much the program price costs, right? Or whatever they want in terms of them actually retiring their parents, right? How long would it take you to actually retire your parents? Like, well, it will never happen. It was like, it'll take 8 months. I mean, do you want to have to keep being stressed out for another 8 months if you didn't have to? It's like, well, no. Well, why not? Well, because it's already stressful right now. Right. So what do you feel like you should do? So let's break down what we did. Essentially, what we're doing here is we're doing a reframe. What a reframe is helping them see things from a different perspective. So a lot of people talk about objection rebuttals. It's like, okay, but what about this? So it's almost like you're arguing with the other person. And obviously the other person is going to shut down. And I found the rebuttals aren't that helpful. It's not that effective because now you're just getting in a boxing match. You just feel more exhausted. You lose out more deals. No bueno, right? But what a reframe is, you're simply sitting back and helping them see things from a different angle. Because the way they're looking at things right now is not helping them. It's not helping them get to their goal, and it's not helping you make that sale, which is why they've been stuck in the same problem for X amount of time frame, right? So the way to look at it is like, oh, like I shouldn't get this. I shouldn't invest in myself. I should just take more time. That's not helping them. So we do a belief shift. Because if we can help them shift their belief, then now based on that, we can shift their actions, right? Because the way they think is different, so the way they act is going to be different, okay? So it's like a domino effect. So the good debt, bad debts, I think I got this from Dave Ramsey or somebody, right? So at Sales Sniper, we use this analogy quite often. I don't know who originally came up with it. Maybe Matt. I'm not quite sure. But you do that. Okay. So I'm not going to go too nitty gritty into the details of the psychology behind it because there's a whole nother topic and we have other objections to fucking destroy. So let's go into the other ones. Now, let's get into the scenario that either you don't have funding or they just don't qualify for the funding. At that point, what we do is we help them get resourceful. When I say resourceful, help them go find the money, miracle the money to actually invest in the program so they can actually get to their goal. Okay. So we do another reframe. Okay. At this point, all right, cool. Let's say they got denied financing or you don't have financing and they don't have enough money. Okay. So there's a difference between being broke and being poor. Do you know the difference? You could also say there's a difference between being resourceful and having resources. Do you know the difference? And they're going to say yes or no. Doesn't matter. So it's a difference in willingness because a poor person is financially poor and they don't do anything about it, so they stay poor. Yet there's another person who may not have much money right now, but if they're willing to go make a change in their life, they'll go find the money to get the money together to get the help that they need. Right? So are you open and willing to get resourceful so you can actually retire your parents? So you can actually retire your wife? So let's break down what we did. Difference between resources versus resourceful. So resources, they don't have the money right now. Being resourceful doesn't mean you don't have to not have the money forever. Like there are literally people in the world running marathons without legs, right? I've had prospects where they're living in India making $200 a month, but they go find the money for $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 programs because maybe their dad has a business in the US where they make US money, so on and so forth, right? I've had people that didn't have a job, but they got money from selling their car, selling their van, so on and so forth. So if someone really wants to make it happen, they'll go find get the money. Okay. And then they'll say, yes, I am open. Okay, but why? Well, because if I don't, nothing will change, yada, yada, yada. They give you a good reason. So we're establishing the why, right? Why do I need to become resourceful? All right, because as long as you're committed to making a change, I'm committed to helping you make this happen. So when do you feel will be a reasonable time frame for get the money together so you can retire your parents? So we're establishing the when. You know how in English class they talk about the what's, the when, the five W's and the one H. I think I fell asleep in English class, so I don't know, but we're establishing that here. Okay, when set a time frame. Without time frames, nothing gets done. When you were in school, when the teacher gives you a homework and the homework is due on Friday, let's say today's Monday, when does everyone do their homework? On Thursday night. Now, if the teacher doesn't give a deadline, when does everyone do their homework? Fucking never, right? So this is when we do that. And they say, well, I don't know, in 6 months. Okay, I challenge you to do it in 3 months. So you basically want to cut the time in half because, again, let's go back to the same example. Homework's due on Friday. Everyone does their homework on Thursday night or Friday morning. Let's say the teacher gives the same exact homework, but now she says, oh, the homework's due on Tuesday. When does everyone do their homework? Monday night or Tuesday morning? It's the same homework. So there's something called the Parkinson's law. What a Parkinson's law is, essentially, human beings take as much time as they feel they have. So if they feel like they have 5 days, they'll do it in 5 days. If they only have 1 day, they'll do it in 1 day, right? Even if it's the same task. So that's why we do that. And they'll say, okay, so what's your plan? What's your strategy to actually make that happen? So we're going to the what's. So at that point, they'll give you different examples. They'll come up with different ways to get the money together. I don't know, I could borrow money from my father, my business partner. We have money coming in. I get paid on this day, so on and so forth. If they don't know, then you give them suggestions. All right, can I make some suggestions? They'll be like, well, yeah. So what a lot of people do is, if a cash is a bit tight, is and then you list them different things they could do. All right, common ones you could do, or is reallocate the money they're already spending, like cigarettes, eating out, drinks, other self-care, Spotify subscriptions, Netflix. They could ask friends or family, business associate who could help them out, business partner. Sell things around their house, like electronics, vehicles, furniture, TV, PlayStation, things that are not helping you get to your goal anyway. Work more hours at your current job or drive Uber on the weekends or before or after work. And there's also interest-free credit card options like Amex Blue, PayPal credit, so on and so forth. So which one of those things do you feel like you could do so that you can actually retire your parents? Let's break down what we did. So these are just common ones. Depending on the offer that you have that you're selling on, there's other things you may have at your disposal as well. Okay. But we list different things. And essentially what we do is, which one of those things do you feel like you could do so you can get outcome? We don't say, do you feel you could do one of those? No, which one of those do you feel you could do? Because in fact, they could do any of those. It's just if they say nothing, they're just not willing to do that. It's not that they can't. They're not willing to do that. At that point, we do another reframe. Okay. By the way, as a side note, if your offer doesn't have funding, Amex Blue, that's an interest-free credit card option. 15 months interest-free from Amex. The prospect can use it for cashback, upgrade for travel flights, so on and so forth. PayPal credit, 6 months interest-free. Okay. Then you can check it out. They may update their policy, so on and so forth. So I'll just look it up. But these are some things you can do. Okay. So what happens is they apply for that. If they get approved, then at the time of this recording, I don't think they give a virtual card number right away. What they used to do is, when they get approved in the email or on the screen, they get a credit card number, like they can see it. So they can use those credit card numbers to actually buy right away. I think these days what they do is you need to wait like 5 business days, but nonetheless, they still get the money, right? For the card to come into the mail. So at the point, they're like, oh, I could do X. All right, cool. So we win. So you work out the logistics again on the call. If they say, well, none of those, then you simply do, oh, there are people running marathons without legs. So what if you really thought about it? So you simply do that. Okay. Now at that point, if you have a drop sell, you could do a drop sell. I wouldn't recommend that though right away because it'll just kill your cash collection. And commonly people just resort to the path of least resistance, meaning that the salesperson will just go straight into the drop sell, even though the prospect could have done the actual high ticket program. So I wouldn't recommend it usually. But if you have that, we don't have time to go through that right now. So we're going to move on to the other thing. Okay. And also as a side note, you want to have an effective follow process in place and have SOPs in place because otherwise they may get cold feet or they may just slip through the cracks, which is no bueno. That's called pipeline closing. It's something we go over in our implementation program. Again, if I go over that, this video will be 2 hours long. So we're going to move on to the next one, which is the time objection. Time objection. There's two types of time objection. Time objection in the micro and the macro. Micro time objection is I don't have the time. Okay. So typically in coaching, you get that, especially in BizOp, I don't have the time, which is, we know that's not true. If something's important to somebody, they'll make the time. And there's the other macro time, which is now's at the right timing. So let's go into that. So let's say, oh, I don't have much time, or maybe they ask you like, how much time will I need to set aside? Let's go into, I don't have the time. Okay. So at this point, you go into the logistics first. Okay. How much do you feel you'll be reasonable to learn the skills to make 10K a month and not having to work 60 hours a week in your job? Right. And I say, I don't know, 20 hours a week. At that point, we're asking for 5 to 10 hours a week. Would that be totally ridiculous? So we're going for no. Okay. So it's the Chris Voss concept, which is you ask a question where triggers a no response from the prospect, but the no actually helps you closer to the sale. So if you say, would that be totally ridiculous? I mean, would you hate us for that? So if you do that, they're going to, well, no. So that's an easier response. They're like, could you do 10 hours a week? They're like, they may be a bit hesitant, right? So would that be totally ridiculous? So for a more difficult ask, going for the no type question, those will help. And it's like, oh, that's reasonable. All right, cool. So, and are you willing to set aside 5 to 10 hours a week? That way you can actually leave it and nothing to feel stressed out anymore. At that point, they'll say yes or no. All right. Or another question. Now, if they say yes, all right, cool. So where should we go from here? All right, cool. Where's like to go from here? You loop back to the sale. If that was the only logistical concern, you'll go forward with the sale. Now, if they say no, now we're going to another objection. Okay. Now, let's say they give you a partner objection. And by the way, it's not like you have to do money. If they don't give you a time objection, you just skip this and go straight to partner, right? If they don't give you a partner, let's say give you a think about objection, you go straight to think about it, right? Well, let's go through. All right, let's say give you a partner objection. So when I say partner objection, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's their spouse. It could be their business partner. It could be their accountant. It could be their children, whoever. A third party that's not there, okay? Now, why does partner objection happen? Now, it could be logistical if it's a B2B, like a business partner type of thing, but most times than not, it is a smokescreen, meaning that they're using it as an excuse to get off the phone because it's convenient, right? Oh, it's not me, it's my spouse. Convenient, right? So it's called abdication of responsibility, putting the responsibility into someone else. That way, it's an easier choice for them to get off the phone. Okay. So we got to isolate it. So if they give a partner objection, right? So you simply go, okay, is your partner supportive of you getting outcome? Right? So is your spouse supportive of you actually making 10K a month, providing more for the family? Is your business partner supportive of you growing the business so you guys can expand to other locations? It's like, well, yeah, they are. Okay. You can also go, why are they though? And then they'll say whatever, da 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 da. Okay. And then now we got to go into the decision logic. So, I mean, what happens if you go to your spouse and she doesn't want you to learn the skills to provide more for the family? I mean, what are you going to do then? So you ask in a curious / concerned way. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to determine would they still do it anyway, or they wouldn't do it, or whatever, right? But we need to get an answer, one of these two. And typically the answer you're going to get is I'll still do it, I wouldn't do it, or I don't know. Now, if they say I don't know, they didn't answer the question. Common mistake I see people make is at this point, they just move on. But they didn't answer the question. So you need to get the answer. So at that point, Okay, so let's say, she does say no. Would you still do it, or you wouldn't do it because she said no? Let's break down what we did. Would you still do it? So re-asking the question by rephrasing it, right? And also we're putting the emphasis on like, oh, because they said no. So if you say it like that, then now in their mind it starts to see that, oh, I guess it kind of doesn't make sense. If they said no, then I don't do it. So you start to see it, right? If they still don't answer it, you still need to get the answer. Okay. You sit there until you get the motherfucking answer. Now, at that point, you're going to get, I wouldn't do it, or I'll still do it. Now, if they say, well, I'll still do it regardless, you say, well, why? Now, if you remember, we ask why or why not on things in order for us to help them solidify that idea. So, because when you ask, oh, why do you still do it? Now they're going to do what? They're going to tell you, but more importantly, convince themselves why they still move forward, depend even if their partner said no, right? So, which solidifies the idea. They say, oh, because at the end of the day, it's my responsibility, yada, yada, yada. They say whatever. And then you look back to the sale. Again, going back to the door. That partner door shuts. So knowing that you feel like this could help you get to where you to go and the money works, and knowing that whether your partner says no, you still do it because ultimately it is your your responsibility. Where should we go from here? We're looping back to the sale. All right. Now, let's go to the scenario where, well, I wouldn't do it. Okay. Now, at this point, depending on your offer, but we'll go through general example. Okay. So we go through a reframe. Okay. So a reframe, again, is helping them see things from a different perspective, right? Now, if something's not clear, you can clarify that. Oh, what's behind that to see if I can help you. Okay. So whenever objection is not clear, you clarify it. If it's pretty clear, you don't have to clarify it, obviously, right? So at that point, oh, because we always talk these things out, or, my wife, whatever, right? Now, have you heard of the saying that heavy is the head that wears the crown? They'll guess. Now, this is called a responsibility frame. Okay. So because they're lacking responsibility, they're externalizing responsibility, we help them take responsibility. You see that here? So you take whatever the thing's blocking them from moving forward and you overcome that. Okay. So you go into this. So it's a Shakespeare saying. So if you can imagine a king with a big crown on him, a lot of people look at that as if the gold and the jewelry is heavy, but in reality, it's because of the burden of responsibility that is heavy. So whose responsibility is it to provide more for the family? So just insert whatever that say they wanted. So essentially what we're trying to do is, what we're telling them is, hey, dude, it's your fucking responsibility. But we're putting in a more elegant visual way. Again, the point of analogies and stories is to help them visualize and understand the concept better. And they're going to say, well, it's mine. Right. So knowing that it is your responsibility, is it really fair for yourself and your partner that you put that responsibility onto them? Because if they say no and you don't do it, that basically means that it's their decision, right? At that point, like, they'll either say they'll agree with it, or they may say something like, oh, yeah, you're right. Whenever you ask them a question and they don't answer and they say you're right, you simply slap them a little bit, okay? In the best loving way possible. Love slaps are good, right? Say, oh, brother, I didn't ask you if I was right or wrong. I asked you, is it really fair? And they say, well, no, it's not. Well, why not? Again, have them convince themselves. And they're going to say, well, because of yada, yada, yada. And then you re-loop back to the sale again. Okay, so where would we like to go from here? All right. Now, with partner objections, at this point, they may still give you an objection, right? There's another reframe you can do. We don't have time to go through every single one of them, but another one you can do. Let's say it's a trading offer, right? So the prospect is a 9 to 5. They want to learn trading to make more money, leave their 9 to 5, provide more for the family, so on and so forth. So you can simply go, oh, and maybe the prospect is like, well, I just want to get my wife's opinion on something. Right. Now, is your wife a successful trader making 20K a month? And the answer is no. And then they're going to say, well, no, she's not. So does it really make sense that you get opinion from her knowing that she doesn't have the full context? Because if you ask opinion from somebody, you're just going to get their results. There's like, well, yeah, I guess she's not, right? So you ask things like that. So also as a side note too, you ask questions to the prospect where you already know the answer, and the answer is going to benefit the sale. Okay, so with 80% probability that the answer is going to benefit the sale. Now it's kind of like being a good lawyer. Okay, so lawyers, when they go to the court, they ask questions to the other party where they already know the answer. Hey, where were you at this time, this day? They already know the answer, right? So they're asking those questions to build evidence to build their case, right? Similar concept here. So at this point, they're going to say, all right, man, let's do it. Okay, credit cards, bada bing, bada boom, fantastic. or they give you fear. Okay. And also another thing you can ask in partner objection: what do you feel your partner may be most apprehensive about? We ask that because when they say, "Oh, it's probably the money," then most likely the prospect is afraid of the money, not the partner. But we're giving them a chance to actually give them their real concern. Okay. Now we go into good old. Think about it. Don't you love those? Think about it. Now, first and foremost, think about it is not a real objection. Think about it as a smokescreen. When I say smokescreen, just imagine a literal smokescreen. You're walking down the forest and there's like smoke everywhere, right? You're like, you don't know where to go. It's not a real objection because a real objection sounds like, well, listen, I've tried something like this before. It didn't work. So I'm afraid this won't work again. That is an actual concern, right? But think about it, it's like, well, what? Think about what, right? So at that point, we got to isolate the real objection. A question you can ask is this. You could literally say, oh, think about what? Some people say that's bad. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world as long as you ask it the right way. If your tone is very accusatory, it's like, oh, dude, think about what? Then yeah, obviously the prospect's going to shut down. But especially if you have a good relationship with the prospect, meaning that, you've held them this arm, right? You're talking casually. Just be like, all right, think about what? You can simply go like that, right? More elegant way of putting it is, well, what was it that you've been wanting to go over in your mind to see if it can help you? So you fleshed it out, and at that point, they still give you a vague response. It's like, oh, I just want to think about it. Or they give you an actual concern, like a fear, okay? If they still give you a vague answer, I just want to think about it. I just want to mull over this, okay? Well, between me and you, man to me, what's really holding you back? And I'm on your team, by the way, but it's really so we're letting our intention know that, hey, I'm here to help you. But obviously, I'm not a mind reader, so you got to let me know. You could literally say that too, but the perceived intention is the most important part. People talk about intention is important in sales, like your intention towards the prospect is obviously to help them, but intention is useless unless the prospect sees your intention. Because I've had different instances where my intention was to help the prospect, but the prospect just wouldn't open up because in my tonality, in my facial expression, people saw that I was disinterested. Now, I wasn't disinterested. It's just that I have the infamous KBF, right? The Korean bitch face. Something former CEO of Seventh Level, Matt Ryder, coined the term while I was there. Because my default face looks like I just hate you. Because in Korea, we don't really smile that much, especially my Korean father. I mean, I saw him smile maybe 3 times in my entire life. That's because he's a bad person. It's just that from his generation, men smiling, it just didn't happen that much, right? And especially considering his upbringing. So, but that doesn't matter because the prospect saw it as I'm disinterested. So what I had to do is like, oh, like I need to show that I'm interested. I got to show that I'm actually caring. How do we do that? There's different things you can do. You can literally say, hey man, I'm here to help. I'm on the same team. You can say stuff like that. And also in your tone and your face, you got to be able to show that too, right? So you manipulate your tonality and your facial expression like, I'm here to help. You say stuff like that. Right? Another thing I learned from Jeremy, you put your hand on your chest, which comes off more sincere. At that point, we go into fear objection. All right. Fear objection, whole other topic. Let's dive into it. First and foremost, here's the manifesto for dealing with fear objections. When I say fear objections, it means that the prospect's literally fearful of something. Okay. So maybe they try something before, it didn't work. So they're afraid of trying again and it's not working. They're afraid that maybe they try something and their wife hates them, whatever, right? So number one, in objection handling, all throughout the sales call, but especially in objection handling, you need to have conviction and certainty. Okay. So it's going back to sub-communication, right? Your nonverbals, facial expression, tonality, body language. You need to have conviction because prospects want to be led. People want to be led in general. Women want to be led. Prospects want to be led. People want to be led. However, they don't want to be led by just anybody. They want to be led by someone that has conviction and certainty. The reason for that, again, is going back to evolutionary psychology. Imagine we're living in caveman times and there's a leader of the tribe and we're trying to find a shelter. Now, if the leader of the tribe is going like, hey guys, I'm not sure if we should go this way or that way. You're gonna be like, dude, are we gonna fucking die by a saber-toothed mammoth? Like, what are we gonna do? But if the leader of the tribe is gonna like, all right, yep, we go this way. They're gonna like, okay, this guy looks like he has a plan, right? Even though they haven't really told you what the plan is. Same thing. Okay. A lot of people come off too limp and too weak on the sales call. And because of that, prospects don't follow you, even though you may have the best objection handling lines. Now, sub-communication and tonality is one of those things I can't really like teach you that well. Like I can try to do it, but it's just a video. it's one of those things where you need actual feedback and implementation on it. But for the sake of this video, we'll just go through it. All right. Next thing is empathy, while also holding them to a higher standard. Now, you want to show empathy. It's like, dude, I get it. I've been there. I know it's scary. You want to normalize fear. You don't want to make it like, dude, it's not scary. Because whenever you try to deny it, what does the other person do? They're going to be like, dude, it is scary, right? It's almost like telling someone to relax, right? So let's say someone's like just pissed off at something, dude, relax. And they're going to be like, dude, what do you mean relax? They're going to be like more triggered, right? Same thing with fear. You just want to normalize it, right? Because it is normal because for us as salespeople, we take these calls every day. And at this point, I mean, you've probably invested in yourself quite a bit, like tens of thousands of dollars, right? I personally invested probably over 250 grand USD at this point, right? In different coaching of different areas of my life. So at this point, I'm very numb, right? But to the prospect, they may not have done this that many times. So it's like, did I get that it's scary? But also, we're not buying into the limitations either. We're holding them to a higher standard. Okay. So, dude, I've been there. I get where you're coming from. At the end of the day, if you don't change anything, how is your life going to change? You may not literally say this, but that's the general blueprint, right? Now, third, this is going to sound controversial. I'm going to get canceled for this, but not taking no for an answer. What does that mean? Just because a prospect said no, like they have some resistance or objections or concerns, doesn't mean you hopped off the phone right away. Doesn't mean you're like, oh, this guy doesn't want it. Well, I mean, maybe they want to do it. It's just that they have some fear. You just got to help them with that, right? And so now, obviously, our job is on the call, get it done and dusted, do that. But if that doesn't happen, you do not give up there. You keep following up with them. You pipeline them, right? Going back to pipeline closing. Number 4 is embracing the discomfort. What I mean by that is when you first start trying to objection handle, you may have some discomfort just sitting there because like, oh man, am I pissing off the other person? What if they hang up? What if they hate me? What if this is too rude? You may have this, especially, I'm just going to get a bit deeper here, but if you come from an upbringing where you have those in your childhood where you weren't really doing, you were too people pleasing, right? Maybe you were bullied at one point, so you're afraid of pissing off the other person. I've been there. Okay. I went to a school where it's 99% white people. And then I was one out of the maybe like 3 people that weren't white. And it was one of those towns where it was a very redneck town. So they had a Confederate flag hanging from the back of the pickup truck and a lot of racist symbols. And so when I first got into sales, it was a bit harsh. Good thing about me though is before I got into sales, it's a side tangent here. But what I did was I was approaching 50 girls a day, cold approaching 50 girls a day in the middle of the streets for 3 months straight, for maybe 6 to 7 days a week. So when I say cold approaching, I try to go up and talk to them, try to get their number, get them out on a date. I would even go up to just random Korean old men and I try to ask for directions because I was trying to get outside my comfort zone. I wanted to really get good with people in general. And that helped. But if you hadn't done that, it may still feel uncomfortable. I'll give you one example, actually. So this reminds me of one of our new students that hopped in the implementation program, Real Sales System. But there we go. So this student says, my first sale after an objection. I finally overcame an objection after a sale. First time, it was logistical money, got it over the line, looping, and then breaking up the payment. So, and I remember the student on the group training sessions that we do, he would hop on and get feedback. And then and when we review the call reviews together, right? Because we do the call reviews, he would bring a call, we review it together. And after one objection, he would just like quit and end the call. I was like, man, you gave up too soon. So we gave him a framework. And I just told him to be more persistent. And then he just made that happen after a few tweaks, right? So that's it. After that, here's the fear objection essentially framework, okay? So with the fear, how it looks like this. They give you a fear or an objection. What you do is you do a reframe, like we talked about, and then you re-loop back to the sale, and you go into a sale, or they may give another objection. At that point, you do a higher intensity reframe, and then you do a loop back to the sale again. And then if they give another objection, you do a higher intensity one and just crank it up a notch. Okay. And when I say higher intensity, you'll see what I mean. All right. Now, again, we don't have time to go through every single nuanced objection a prospect could possibly throw at you. Otherwise, this video is going to be 6 hours long. So we'll go through just a couple. Okay. So let's just say, which one should we go to? Let's go through I've been burned before, right? You ever get those? If you sell done for lead gen, or maybe they tried a coaching program before, and then they say this, right? I've been burned before. Or I tried something in the past that it didn't work. First, if it's not clear, just like any objection, first step is we clarify, right? Oh, what do you mean by burnt? And they'll say, oh, I just didn't get the results I wanted. Okay. Now, depending if you did done with you or done for you solution, it's a bit different, but the whole framework is kind of similar. Okay. But let's go to done with you for the sake of this video. All right. So let's say sell coaching, and there were some parts that the prospect had to do from their side. Now, were the other people in the program getting results? They'll say yes. Okay. Now, so if other people got results, what if it held you back from getting results from the same program? Now, you probably would have done this in the discovery earlier on, but let's say if you didn't do this, then you would do that here. Or I don't know, I just didn't want to, pay for something and it's not working out again. Okay. So if they try to do that, then you go, okay, so would you be open to looking at it from a different perspective? They say, yeah, sure. So have you ever been in a relationship where you thought it would be great, but I quite didn't? They say, well, yeah. And after that didn't work out, they just stop meeting new people altogether. Then you're like, well, no. Well, why? Why not just stay alone for the rest of your life? Now, depending on how direct you are, just your personality, the way you sell, and the relationship you have with the prospect, you can just say, to play safe, you can just be like, why? The way I do it is I'm a direct, so I'd be like, why? Why not just stay alone for the rest of your life? And then they say, oh, because there are still good people out there, right? So we're doing a reframe. We're helping them see, essentially what we're telling them, we're helping them see is like, hey, dude, there are still good programs out there. Oh, you still got to try. But if you just do that, it's not going to be that persuasive, right? You could do it that way, but we're doing an analogy to make it more persuasive and help them understand to get the point across. So you go, okay, right. So just like how there are good people out there, not so good people, could it be possible that there are also good solutions out there and not so good solutions, but people that could actually help you start a successful business and get you out of your job? Or is it that nothing ever works and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it? So again, going for no, right? It's like, no, I mean, I'm sure there's something out there. Right. And just because it didn't work out, it doesn't mean you got burnt. Because when you say you got burned, now you just sound like a victim. There's nothing you can do about it. When in reality, there's always something you can do about it. You keep trying. Because what's the alternative, man? Keep banging your head against the wall, keep being stressed out about money for another 12 months. You go into that. It's like, no, I don't want that. So how do you feel your perspective on it needs to change so you don't have to just keep being in that paycheck to paycheck, feeling stressed out? So I guess I need to keep going. In what way? If they're being vague, then it's like, in what way? Or, I need to just whatever, right? At the point, you can also ask this. So what do you feel like you need to let go? So you can actually put yourself in a better position for you and your family. Yeah, I got to let the skepticism go. Yada, yada, yada. Right. So we both know you need to, but are you willing to let that go, give it another shot so you can actually do something about your life? It's like, well, yes. Okay, but why though? And they're going to tell themselves why. So what do you feel you need to do to put yourself in the best position to get to your goal? Okay. This is a loop. Something I learned from Matt Ryder. Okay. So what do you feel you need to do to put yourself in the best position to get to your goal? Okay. Now, again, this is not the only reframe you can do. There's a bunch of things you can do. I'm just giving you one example. Okay. So you do that. And then the second loop you do, now you go more specific and more higher intensity. So what do you feel you need to do to put yourself in the best position to make 10K a month and provide better for your family? So now you're getting more emotions out in the next loop you do. Okay. Now we'll go through one more example. Maybe one or two. We'll see. Okay. Let's see. Which one should we choose? How to make rash decisions. What if this doesn't work? Oh, let's go into that. Okay. That's another one you can do. Okay. But what if this doesn't work? Guys, here's a reframe you can do. We call it the Olympic runner analogy. Oh, that's the whole point, is that we don't know. So let's say you've been training for the Olympics since you're 4 years old. You get to track every morning, you get the best coaches, you run every day. You get to the Olympics, you look to your right, and it's Usain fucking Bolt. You will lose. You will fail. So this is why most people don't even start, because, yeah, what's the whole point? I might lose again. So where are they now? They're in mediocrity. They're regretting everything. They're saying, what if? So the other person, they may have lost to Usain Bolt, but they still want a silver medal. And they've done everything that possibly could to put themselves in the best position to win. And for that person is fucking awesome because they went for it. And then that's the analogy. We loop back to the sale. So what do you feel you need to do to put yourself in the best position to actually retire a parent so they don't have to work until they're 60 years old? And then we go into that. Now, there's a lot higher intensity ones we could do. I want to go eat. So that's the objection handling decision tree. Now, the objection handling decisions tree is great, and this basic YouTube video is great. But at the end of the day, if your discovery is weak, then now all the objection handling reframes just not going to land that well because you don't have much emotional pain point to leverage that on. And also, you don't know if you're doing it right or wrong because you just don't know what you don't know. That's why it's called blind spots, right? That's why most high ticket closers and business owners come into our implementation program, Real Sales System. It's a program where you come in and we take a look at your sales call recordings and also your role plays and your data and help you formulate an actual game plan to help you go from maybe like the 3 to 5K a month to 10, 15, 20K a month in commissions. When you first enroll, we do something called a one-on-one game plan session, basically doing a deep dive into your data and your sales call recordings and mapping out your actual action items. And that way you're not working on the wrong stuff, which most closers do, which is why it takes them so forever to get to their goal. You can also hop on the training sessions, get your calls reviewed, role play, and give you feedback from me. So that way you're like, oh, I'm fucking up on this. I didn't even know that. So now I know what to do. So actually helping you implement it so you can actually do it and do it well, as long as you're putting in the work. We do have selection criteria for the implementation program. Number one, you are a closer, not a sitter. Now, if you are a sitter and you want to transition into a closer and you want to learn these skills, get feedback in that way, then that's fine too. Just have the expectation that it may take some time for you. Number two, you are already on an offer. So if you're not on an offer yet, and again, if you want to get trained, get the SOPs, and then later be able to get into an offer, that's fine too. But again, just understand that that's going to be more of a long-term play for you as well. Now, for our program, we do have something called an offer board. Let me actually show you. So in the offer boards, because I'm in different business masterminds of different other business owners that are doing 100K a month, 1 million a month, so on and so forth. And every good business is looking for good sales reps, obviously. Right. So we post those here. Okay. We're going to blur this name, but we post those here with a top closer making 43K a month in commissions. Offer price point is 10K. For this offer, top to closer doing 20K to 25K a month in commissions. Now, obviously, every offer owner is probably going to exaggerate a bit, but I've seen some of the commission checks, and that's based on what they're saying. Obviously, I can't promise anything. You got to do your own due diligence, and I don't guarantee placements. Okay. So you got to do your due diligence, but that's something you can have as well. And for our top students, I just put directly in touch with the business owner. Number three, you sell either coaching programs or legion services or something similar to that regard. If you sell something like cold calling or if you do something like door knocking, that's not really my forte. So that's something we wouldn't be able to help at the moment. Number four, most importantly, you are not a princess closer. If you're not willing to do dials and outbounds and follow-ups during your no-shows, then you're not probably going to make the most out of the program. And also, if you just bitch and moan, just complain about the program, if you're just an energy drag, please don't apply. I don't want more headaches in my life. And our students don't want more headaches in my life. But if you do meet the selection criteria, and if you want to get the 10, 15K, 20K a month, if you want to be a shark, no longer a princess closer, go to the first link in the description box below. You'll see a link to book a call with either myself or someone on our team. We'll take a look at what's going on in your sales, do an assessment of that. And then if it seems like we can help, we can just walk you through how the program would work for you, and then we'll take it from there. All right. I'll see you in the next one.